This video is about a new ultra short throw projector from Epson, the QS100. Now back in 2022, Epson released the LS800, one of our favorite short throw projectors. With 4,000 lumens of brightness, you could place it just 20 inches from the wall and pair it with a 120-inch ambient light projecting screen to get a bright, crisp image even with some lights on. It came with a Yamaha 2.1 speaker system, a Google-powered smart TV interface, Epson's 3 LCD chipset, 10-bit color, and low input lag for gaming. Simply put, it offered one of the best all-in-one UST projector experiences that you could get. Since then, plenty of other brands have tried their hand at short throw projectors, but time and time again, the LS800 has held its own. It just does so many things right, from picture quality to ease of use. But Epson isn't one to sit back and coast. They're known for listening to customer feedback and using it to push their next products forward. That's exactly what they've done with their latest release, the QS100 Ultra Short Throw Projector that's behind me right now. Instead of replacing the LS800, the QS100 is designed to live alongside it in the lineup, offering an exciting, upgraded experience in several ways while giving customers a choice depending on their setup and needs. If you haven't already checked out our deep dive on the LS800, I'll leave a link down below. But for this video, we're going to focus on what's new with the QS100, how it compares to the LS800, and whether it's the right fit for your space. Before we dive in, let's talk about the elephant in the room. TVs are getting bigger and cheaper. These days, a 98-inch TV can cost far less than it did a few years ago. But if you want to go really big, like 120 inches or more, a UST projector setup is still the most cost-effective way to go. Sure, TVs will always have the edge when it comes to contrast, black levels, and peak brightness, especially in well-lit rooms. But if you're after that truly cinematic experience that a projector provides, with a massive 120-inch or larger screen and a traditional front projector just isn't an option for your space, Epson's ultra short throw projectors are easily one of the best solutions out there. We actually have a whole video linked below that is dedicated to the debate between projectors and TVs, breaking down the pros and cons of each one. And if you're still unsure which option is best for your setup, our team of experts is always here to help you figure out which one is right for your space. Now, the QS100 is about 27 inches wide and 14 inches deep, which is conveniently the same exact size as the LS800. In fact, the only way you'd really be able to tell a difference from the outside is by looking at the top, where the QS100 has a brushed aluminum plate with a logo on it and a gold strip on the front. Other than that, they are identical in their overall appearance. Like the LS800, the QS100 comes in black or white with a dark gray grille across the front. However, instead of the grille hiding that built-in speaker system like the LS800 has from Yamaha, the QS100 has removed the speaker options altogether. Normally, when a newer and more expensive model loses a feature, we'd be the first one to call it out. But in this case, we actually think Epson made the right move. Almost none of our LS800 customers relied on the built-in speakers. When you're investing in a high-performance short throw projector, chances are you're pairing it with a dedicated sound system. It makes sense. Having a massive screen to create an immersive experience only works if the audio is just as impressive. Rather than spending money on built-in speakers that most people weren't using, Epson decided to put that budget towards other improvements. Both of these projectors are compact enough to fit on a credenza or even inside a custom cabinet like the ones from Salamander Designs that you can see here. They have cutouts specifically made for them. You can also mount them above the screen with their ELPM B75 wall mount. And just like the LS800, the QS100 only needs about 20 inches of depth from the wall to project a massive 120-inch image. But if you want to go even bigger, the QS100 does have an edge here. It can stretch the image all the way up to 160 inches, which is 10 inches more than the LS800 can produce. Now, while you technically could project your image directly on a wall or any basic projection screen, we highly recommend pairing either of these projectors with Epson's Silverflex ALR projection screen. These come in 100-inch or 120-inch sizes and are specifically designed to maximize the performance of an ultra short throw projector. The screen has a sleek, thin bezel design and a dark gray surface that looks a lot like a modern flat panel TV when it's turned off. The Silver Flex screen uses a special sawtooth light-rejecting optical pattern to minimize ambient light, directing the projected image toward the viewing area. This design reduces washout from ambient light while boosting contrast, ensuring a great picture even in bright rooms. Since Epson's projectors are known for their high brightness, you don't need a fully dark theater-style setup to get a solid image when paired with an ALR screen. The QS100 and LS800 can deliver a vibrant picture in pretty much almost any space, even a well-lit room, without needing to draw the curtains or turn off the lights. Now, while a TV will still have the edge in overall brightness and color like we said before, dimming the lights or darkening the room will make the image on the QS100 even more striking. But for everyday viewing of sports or casual TV, these projectors really do hold their own even with some lights on. Now, if you decide you want to go bigger than 120 inches, we strongly recommend you go with a high-quality screen from a company like Stewart Film Screen. Our experts can help you pick which one is the best for your room to make sure that you have one that is the most compatible. Now, perhaps the biggest improvement from the LS800 is the upgraded processor inside this new QS100, which provides better performance across the board. The new 32-bit QZX processor brings noticeable enhancements in noise reduction, motion smoothness, and better HDR content with dynamic tone mapping instead of static tone mapping. We've talked about dynamic tone mapping before in a lot of other videos, but if you're unfamiliar, it's one of the most important features for making HDR content look great on a projector. HDR, or high dynamic range, was originally designed for extremely bright TVs, requiring anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 nits of light output to properly display the intended brightness and contrast levels. The challenge is that HDR content provides a single brightness spec for the entire film, rather than adjusting scene by scene. This caused early projectors with HDR to look overly dark in certain scenes, especially in movies with a lot of shadow detail. Now, with dynamic tone mapping, this QS100 is able to analyze each scene in real time and adjust brightness and contrast dynamically, delivering a far superior HDR experience compared to projectors without it. This ensures that darker scenes don't get crushed into black, while brighter scenes maintain detail without looking washed out. It's a massive improvement in overall image quality, and one of the biggest reasons that the QS100 is a pretty big step up from the LS800. Now, gaming also gets a boost with the QS100's new processor. It now supports auto low latency mode, or ALLM, and 2K at 120 frames per second, which is a big upgrade from the LS800, which could only support 120 frames per second at 1080p, and it lacked ALLM. If you're a casual gamer, you can still enjoy 4K at 60 frames per second for a sharp and detailed image, but for fast-paced games like first-person shooters or heavy action titles, ALLM and 2K at 120 frames per second make gameplay feel significantly smoother and way more responsive. Another significant improvement from the LS800 up to the QS100 is the increase in brightness, jumping from 4,000 lumens to an impressive 4,500 lumens. This boost comes with an upgraded laser light source, moving from the LS800's 4-in-1 laser module to a 5-in-1 laser module, while still utilizing Epson's trusted 3 LCD technology. Epson's unique 3 LCD system uses 3 separate LCD chips to display 100% of the RGB color signal in every frame, ensuring a wide color gamut while maintaining excellent brightness. Unlike some other projection technologies, this eliminates common issues like rainbowing and color brightness inconsistency, so you get a vibrant and accurate image without distractions. Now, in addition, the dynamic contrast ratio has doubled from 2.5 million to 1 to 5 million to 1. The next upgrade from the LS800 is the integration of IP controls. The QS100 is now compatible with various smart home platforms like Control4, Crestron, and more to allow you to connect it to your smart home network. At Audio Advice, we install a ton of smart home systems. I'll link a few down below, and we always integrate them into our theater systems that we install as well. This was a request that we often heard from customers who wanted this projector to be integrated with the rest of their system, and we are happy to see Epson include it with the QS100. Now, this QS100 also brings a big improvement in setup and calibration options, borrowing advanced settings from Epson's new Q series projectors. It now includes ISF custom calibration control, allowing for more in-depth fine-tuning if you want to get the absolute best picture quality. And one of the biggest changes is the redesigned menu system, which is a huge improvement over the LS800. While the LS800's menu was functional, it did lack some important controls and wasn't always the most intuitive to navigate. The new menu is packed with options including panel alignment adjustments and the ability to save different profiles with custom settings. We found this especially useful for switching between different lighting conditions. For example, we set one profile up in the dynamic mode with max brightness for daytime viewing with the windows open. Then for movie controls with more light control, we used the cinema mode with brightness dialed down to around 75% for better contrast and color accuracy. And another benefit of this system is that the projector's fan noise actually drops noticeably when we were testing it, with the brightness goes below about 80%. So this makes a real difference when you're locked into a great movie with a powerful soundtrack, letting you focus on the experience without unnecessary distractions. You could just turn the brightness down a bit and the fan turns right off and you don't even hear it. Now, another welcome change is the move away from Android TV. As we noted in our LS800 review, most users weren't using the built-in apps and they were probably plugging in an Apple TV or Roku anyways. Epson removed the smart interface entirely in this QS100, replacing it with a leaner, faster system that just boots up way more quickly and gives you a lot more control. While you'll need an external streaming device like an Apple TV, most people are already doing that anyways, and this change gives you a better experience in our opinion. HDMI inputs have also been streamlined from 3 down to 2 HDMI 2.0 ports, and one of them is eARC compatible. Most people only used 1 or 2 ports anyways again, so this isn't really a loss for most setups. What is a big deal is that Epson finally fixed the CEC issues. On the LS800, your Apple TV remote or Roku remote could turn everything on, but not off. The QS100 now supports full CEC functionality, and in our testing, it worked perfectly. These HDMI ports support HDR, HDR10, and HLG, ensuring great picture quality across all different content formats. And one more upgrade that might fly under the radar is the new remote control, but trust us, it's actually a pretty big deal. The QS100's remote offers way more functionality and makes navigating settings just so much easier. You now get more quick action buttons, including dedicated profile buttons, which I discussed before. You get brightness controls and other key settings that let you make adjustments on the fly without digging deep into the menus. This makes the whole experience just so much smoother, especially if you like fine-tuning your picture settings for different types of content. In addition, there's still a couple features that are here from the LS800. To give you that sharp, natural 4K picture, Epson precisely controls the 3 high-definition LCD chips to double the number of on-screen pixels per frame using an advanced pixel shifting and image process called 4K Pro UHD enhancement. Plus, full 10-bit HDR color processing is on board and accepts 100% of an HDR source. When you combine this with the extreme brightness of 4500 lumens and dynamic tone mapping, HDR content is just faithfully reproduced for an incredible viewing experience. So to put the new QS100 to the test, we watched the LS800 and then watched the same scenes on the new QS100. Some improvements were obvious right away, like the better remote, the faster startup time, and the removal of the Android OS and using our own Apple TV. But there were some other differences that really stood out, ones that just felt like true game changers here. The new menu interface is a massive step up from the LS800, like I said before. It's just so well organized, it's easier to navigate, and makes the setup much more straightforward. The geometry correction wizard offers the same setup flexibility as the 800, allowing you to adjust for a screen or wall and choose how many points of correction you want to tweak. You can also use the Epson Setup Assistant app to handle this process, though personally I did prefer using the remote and I felt like it gave me a little bit better control here. Now, a big new feature again is the ability to adjust settings via a web browser, which makes fine-tuning just so much more convenient. Now, I have to say, setting up an ultra short throw projector can take some trial and error, especially if you've never done it before, to get the screen positioned just right. But if you purchase from Audio Advice, you'll get access to our exclusive setup guide with detailed instructions and tips to help you get started. If you're not familiar with projector setup, especially a UST, it might be worth considering hiring a local dealer to assist with placement and calibration, or Audio Advice if you're near one of our showrooms. The QS100 offers 4 main color modes: dynamic, vivid, cinema, and natural. For movies, we found cinema mode to be the most enjoyable, while the natural mode seemed to deliver the most accurate color reproduction. Each mode gives you access to brightness, contrast, color saturation, tint, sharpness, and white balance. If you really want to dial in your settings, you can tweak these manually, but we typically suggest leaving them at their default unless you have experience calibrating projectors. Now, one change I do recommend is to turn off frame interpolation for a more natural look. And then you should also make sure you turn on dynamic tone mapping, which helps HDR content look more dynamic and more well balanced. Now, we go over all of our favorite picture settings in detail in our exclusive setup guide that I mentioned before for audio device purchasers. Now, going back and forth between the LS800 and QS100, the increase in brightness was immediately noticeable. Even in a blind test where viewers didn't know which projector was which, the QS100 actually won every time. That extra 500 lumens really makes a difference, especially in bright environments. Another huge noticeable difference was the deeper blacks and the much better highlights that the upgraded processor provided with that dynamic tone mapping. To really push both projectors to their limits, we tested a few action-packed movies, including movies like The Atom Project on Netflix, to evaluate motion handling, HDR performance, and dynamic tone mapping. In fast-moving scenes, the QS100 consistently delivered just a better overall image. Colors looked slightly more true to life, and the dynamic range was noticeably better. We made sure to match the settings as closely as possible on both projectors to keep things fair, and like I said, the QS100, it just came out on top. Overall, the QS100 improves on the LS800 in almost every way. It addresses nearly all of the complaints users had with the LS800 while only removing features that most people didn't use anyway. The brighter image, improved motion handling, better HDR with dynamic tone mapping, and enhanced menu calibration and better calibration controls make it a clear step up for those looking for the best possible ultra short throw experience. Now, if you already own an LS800, you might be wondering if the QS100 is worth upgrading to. The answer really depends on how much you value the brighter image, better HDR with dynamic tone mapping, that improved remote, and the better CEC functionality. Even though it seems like I've gone over a ton of big upgrades here, the LS800 is still a fantastic projector, and it will continue to be a great choice for a lot of people, especially those who like the built-in Android TV and the Yamaha speakers in it. But if you want more setup flexibility, a smoother experience, and a projector that can simply perform better across the board, there's no doubt that the QS100 is definitely a step up. If you don't own either of these projectors, then yes, the QS100 is absolutely worth choosing over the LS800 if you can fit it into your budget. It just delivers a better experience. That said, it's also important to consider your specific setup and whether a TV or an ultra short throw projector makes more sense for your space. If you're unsure, our team of experts can always help you figure out the best option for your room so that you get the best setup for your needs. Alright, I hope this video has given you some good insight into the new ultra short throw projector from Epson. If you're interested in purchasing one for yourself, check out the link in the description where you can learn more. When you purchase yours from Audio Advice, you not only get our exclusive setup guide, but you also get lifetime expert support and a price guarantee. If this video was helpful, please consider giving it a like, hitting the subscribe button, and turning on the notifications so you don't miss out on any of our latest content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.